You can say silly things. It's okay.
Gotcha.
So, does anyone recall? We have I think at least 2 or maybe 3 original members of the Arts Committee. Chris?
I don't know that I was.
Okay, but I know Brenda and Jane were original founding members of the Arts Committee.
1978. The second,
that what it was?
second week I came to Fremont.
Do you remember approximately what year Living Artists series started?
Gene Cotton came to me, and it was towards the end of his era, so it would have been in the late 80s, and he said, I really want to do some more things besides the art show and the art scholarships. And he said, I'd really like to do something else, and what do you think the art teachers would like? And I said, I think to have artists in our own schools so that children meet artists that are working and making their living doing art. And so that's where it came from. And
Brenda, what's the first one you remember you doing at Grant High School? Or any that you remember?
I think the first one that I did was, I can't remember, I think it was Mary Duzema, who was a well-known pottery artist in Grand Rapids, and she brought up her raku kiln. And so we did pottery with her, and then we did the firing, and we did it right outside the classroom. And they came with their bandanas and their jeans, and we're like assistants for her. Got to load and unload the kiln, and it was a phenomenal experience for all of us, including me. I'd never done raku before, and so yeah, that was incredible.
Jane, you were mentioning you thought you had one you thought was one of your first ones. It might have been the first one.
right, that was a well-known artist throughout the Midwest, and that his name was Jose Norreso. And he did a great job kind of educating the kids on the Hispanic culture and Day of the Dead and all of those things. And then we designed a piece of work that went all the way around the cafeteria. And it was using a rubber resist, and kids were up on scaffolding, and then they were able to see his work, and he was selling individual pieces of work for thousands of dollars, and that was just amazing to them. And they worked up on the scaffolding with them, and it's still there today.
How about you, Chris? What do you remember one of your first ones, if not the first?
I believe one of the first one was Deb Emmerich came and did a mosaic installation with my students. Same thing, up on scaffolding, and they used tile, and they were smashing tile, and it's there still, and we love it. We still love it.
Jill, how about you?
The mosaic at the middle school was my first one with Kara O'Brien, and I wanted to do an outdoor wall like the Chagall wall in Chicago. That was my original idea, but we decided it would be better to have it underneath an overhang, so it's right on the front of the middle school.
Okay.
And so I wanted to work with her, and she had never done mosaic tile before, but she said, I'll figure it out. And so the two of us, first time for either of us doing it, figured it out, and kids worked one-on-one with her. She took the kids' drawings to design the overall
It's like images of
composition.
Grant, kind of, right? Yeah.
Yep. And then they worked with her in small groups for several weeks. And then Welch Tile, you
Right.
talked about donations. Welch Tile donated a lot of the tile that they had extra tile in their back
Our
room.
tile came from 211.
Yeah, and they grouted it for us, which was huge because that's a big ugly job for middle school kids.
Definitely.
That
And
one.
the cool part with that was that Kara had gone to school in Fremont and actually showed things in the TrueNorth art exhibit and had received scholarships through TrueNorth for summer programs, and then to have her now as a professional artist in the area, and then to be able to give back was a big part for her, I
Full
think.
circle.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I know that some of the other schools that I know had really cool, kind of meaningful ones. At White Cloud, Dave Cucina, the art teacher there, brought in, and I wish I could remember the guy's name. He's like an internationally known muralist.
Yes,
And
in
it's just like-
Chicago, or California.
Yeah, it was a weird coincidence. The guy's sister had a vacation home in White Cloud, so he, Dave met his sister, and she said, "Oh my God, my brother's a muralist." Oh, really? What's his name? He knew who it was, and so he managed to get the guy. He never would typically do something that small scale, but he just was on vacation, so he came in and worked with the kids at White Cloud High School doing a mural, I think, in the gym. Hopefully, we still have images of that to show. Anybody else can remember? We'll kind of get back on a second round to maybe another one you remember from your time. But does anyone remember any other ones that happened maybe either at Fremont High School or Hesperia High School or middle school or any?
Oh yes, Fremont High School. David Beamer was a former student and is a professional artist in Chicago, and he does faux walls and things. And he did a workshop where they each student painted an individual canvas of an apple, for instance, and I think they all did different apples, and then it was put into a large matrix in the school, so it was individual canvases that actually made up one whole piece. And so he was another one that came back.
Jill, let's talk about the one at when you went to the high school then, the photo one that Fawn did, Fawn's kind of events, right?
Yes.
Talk about that one a little bit.
So I wanted to do a photo collage because I had started a photography program at the high school, and initially was supposed to work with Rob Skidema, but then he took over Chris's position and couldn't work on it anymore. And so Fawn, his wife, who also was a photography major, and one of my former students who went through the program, and one of Huck's former students who went through the program and had stuff in the shows. And so I brought Fawn in, and my students took pictures of students and arts related things. It was supposed to be an arts themed collage and grant related things. So they took all of their black and white pictures and developed them, and then Fawn took all of those 35 millimeter pictures and scanned them and put them into digital, and then put them together to create these collages digitally. Yeah, they're very large. So we also, the second piece of that was we had students, art students, represent each of the different disciplines of the arts, and so they dressed up in costume, and she took those images, and those are the large images that are kind of like incorporated into the collage in the background. So it's kind of a fun, very big piece.
And that's on display at the Fine Arts Center.
I was going to say, that's the one that's in the Fine Arts Center.
Yes.
Renee, you mentioned working with Eric Lemire. Let's talk about that project. Actually,
well,
he was at Newaygo. He worked at Newaygo High School, didn't he, with Linda doing a thing?
yes, that was.
Yeah.
And I think that was before, and that mural is still there, even
Right.
though it's not. It's the
Did he do that?
cafeteria.
Did you
now.
have him also in?
Yeah, I had him at Grant
Yeah.
also. And
You
I
had him
don't know
first?
if he did mine first or did hers first.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think hers was probably done, and
Yeah,
it's
so-
lions.
That one, and then what was the one you did with him?
It was the huge tiger that's on the side of what
The
used to be
outdoor.
the old. It was an outdoor huge mural of a tiger with a border around it. And unfortunately, the school hasn't kept up on its maintenance and all that sort of thing.
We tried to go out. We did one year.
Yeah.
And did some
But-
stuff to it, but it's falling apart.
But again, Eric is another one of those people who were part of the program. And
I think the big thing for a lot of our kids to know is that, art can be permanent or can be long-lived. It doesn't, often when they're working on things in class, it's on a sheet of paper that, do they even keep it? And with this, the opportunity, I think, is to also teach that, art that's well done and art that you do professionally can be long-lived. And
I think another good part of it is collaboration. Collaboration with the artists, but also collaboration as a team of students.
How about, Chris, can you think of another one you've done? You have at least,
we
you have a
have,
handful probably over the years.
Renee Wallace designed a mural in our gym, which is still there, and every once in a while we have her come and touch it up. And so huge, still there. I think it's time to say, let's bring them back.
Yeah.
The living artist is that was
Well, it'll make a quick plea for funding
Support.
for arts programs. I mean, shortly after I left, within 5 or 6 years after I left that position, funding for cultural programs really dried up.
And I think that's really, the arts unfortunately, often do have to have that philanthropic support. And so our hope is that we can continue to build on these things, but it really does take the support of the community. Yes, yeah.
We have 4 seasoned art educators. So let's make a plea for the next generation of art teachers to take ownership of these programs in the same way that you all did, and for anyone watching who is an advocate for the arts to think about donating to set up ongoing funds. Thanks for you guys coming in today. I know everyone's busy. I appreciate you reminiscing with us about the Living Artist series and the importance of those programs that have had to your students and the impact on our community. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Great.